let's just let's give it some power. Let's see what happens. Windscreen wipers working slowly. Right, so it's cranking. Good morning everybody. In the last episode you will have seen that we picked up this Reliant Rialto, not Robin, Reliant Rialto. It's basically the same thing. I mean, Reliant enthusiasts might kick off. I mean, I think it's the same thing. And we bought this Reliant Rialto, which is the 3-wheel rear-wheel drive 4-speed manual 1988 850cc car, which, fun fact, back in the 80s and stuff, you could actually, I think still now actually, you can drive these either on a bike license or a car license. So these cars were super popular back in the day because it meant people didn't have to get a driving license. And we bought this car in a bit of a state. Basically, it's got no interior whatsoever. It has got the interior, it's just totally stripped out. And it does not run, and it hasn't ran for a good 2 years. Today, we're going to start diving into the problem and see if we can actually get it running. Now, just let's clear this up. I've never had a carbureted car. I've never had a car this old. I've never worked on anything this old, and half the bits are not even with the car. So it's going to be a fun experience, and I'm going to be learning as we go along. So if you do know the answers, please don't get too frustrated at me. I will make a lot of mistakes, but I'm here to learn, I'm here to have some fun. So let's first of all get this bonnet off, because it's just going to get in the way. So there's 2 bolts down here which hold the bonnet on, and we can just remove the bonnet, and then that's just going to allow us to get access to the engine a lot easier. I'm excited. I'm also a bit worried, but let's have some fun. So first and foremost, there's a lot of wiring that's just dangling around. I believe this is to do with the indicators. That is one of the indicator bulbs, I believe. The guy said this is all something to do with the indicators. So there's some absolutely botched wiring all over, but I'm not too fussed because that looks like it's coming from the steering wheel area. So I'm not too fussed about that. Oh, 3.5 inch extension. I didn't know what this was in the last video, but I've had a look at some pictures online. This is the equivalent of a heater matrix. There's a little mini radiator in here. The hot air goes through here, and you have a load of little hoses which go through the whole car, and that's where you get your heat from inside the car. I didn't know what this was, but now it makes total sense. So that is our heater matrix. This Reliant has had a alloy radiator fitted. You can actually see the alloy rad there, so that is good news. So what we're going to do is we're just going to be going over all health checks of the engine. Obviously there's no battery in here, so we're going to get a battery, and we're just going to basically check the health of the engine before firing it up. I thought I broke it then, but I've got it off. There isn't any coolant in there, so I mean, it's not a good start, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, anyway, let's just take the bonnet off. So that'll just give us a lot more room to access. There we go. There's the bonnet. Oop, fiberglass bonnet. Yeah, if you've not watched the last video, this whole car is fiberglass and it weighs 400 kilos. There we go. Much better. Right, let's check the oil first and foremost. Now, when I was looking underneath this car, I did see it had a bit. Oh, yeah, there we go. It had a bit of an oil leak. So one thing to consider when thinking how much oil. I know I just seen it had some oil in it, which is good news. I think it's on minimum, which is great news. Now, I've never worked on a carburetor, so again, right, so it's just on minimum, so it's okay for now. So we need some oil and we need a battery. Now, how a carburetor works is it mixes the air and the fuel inside the carburetor, and then it goes down into the cylinders. Now, how it does that is you have, imagine 2 channels. I'll try to put some pictures up. Again, I'm not the most smart with this, but this is how I understand the carburetor works. So it sucks in air through a channel, and that channel will suck fuel into the channel, and the more air in there, the more fuel it's going to suck. Now, you have like an external fuel tank in next to the carburetor, so the fuel doesn't get directed, the fuel doesn't get injected from the fuel tank straight into the carburetor. It gets injected into a separate fuel tank which has a float. So it has a float in here, and then when that float reaches the bottom, because the carburetor is sucking in fuel, it puts more fuel into the second tank. That's how it kind of works. Now you set up everything manually yourself. So this is the throttle valve here, so there'll be a valve inside there which is throttle. So the more that opens, the more air is going to get in, and you have an idle screw as well. Now this is actually the choke here. Now what happens with a choke is that when you pull the choke on, it's going to flip this up like that, and it's going to close that valve. So it's going to stop air getting in, which means it's going to put more fuel in. So you're going to have a rich mixture when starting the car, and then when the car's warmed up, you'll knock that choke off, and then it's going to be running again. This is the intake side, so you can actually adjust how much air is going in on intake. So you can adjust the idle there, you can adjust the mixture, and you basically just adjust everything yourself using the air. So you can make it rich or lean, etc. And you can adjust the idle, you can adjust the throttle, you can adjust everything yourself. So that's where, you know, you tune a car by ear. This is where it comes from, but this is carburetors. This is where you have to make it run right by listening to the engine. So before we go and get a battery, we're going to do this seems relatively simple, and we're just going to check the spark plugs and the leads. So because what we're going to do is we're going to be turning the engine over anyway, so it'd be easier to do that when we don't have a compression to deal with. So what we'll do is we'll just mark these so I don't get them mixed up. To get to the plugs, we're going to have to take the dizzy cap off. There's a nice little 11mm just down there. I know, right? 11mm. I did not expect that. Oh, there we go. Give it a bit of a twist. Get this out of the way. Then we get access to the plugs. So the spark plug socket is a 21mm. Like, that's massive. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my bloody span to the back ones. Honestly, I thought they'd be like 40. So they were all torqued, which was good. Or they were all the correct. Sometimes you get spark plugs and they're super tight or super loose. They were like a nice torque. But they're like brand new plugs. Now, not only are the spark plugs good, they're iridium. Somebody's put, I guess it was matey boy, iridium. Yeah, these are all good. Iridium plugs in an 850cc Reliant engine. Love to see it. Okay, so the crank pulley is right at the bottom of the engine, and it's a 14mm. So you want to turn it clockwise. So I'm hoping I can get on there and turn the engine. So the engine is turning freely, which is good, which is awesome actually. Right, that's all good. Engine's turning nice, nothing's knocking, plugs are good. This is a good start, to be fair. So let's put all the plugs back in and put the coil pack and the distributor back on, and then we can start checking fuel. Every time we take something off, I'm just going to clean up the surface and clean up the thing we took off. Okay, so I've been struggling to line up the distributor. So basically you've got a distributor and you've got two little prongs on the bottom, and they need to slot into the right place, otherwise the distributor won't sit in, and that lines up with the engine. So I was really struggling to put it back in, so I have to take off the dizzy cap. I've marked all these and I've got a picture on my phone, hopefully you say, but I took off the cap, and then you can actually move the bottom of the distributor with this. I'll give you a bit of an example. So it kept, so if there's a little bit off, it wouldn't sit in, there's a gap, so it's really hard to try and line that up. So what you have to do is you've got to take the dizzy cap off, and then what you can do is you can kind of move this, and then it'll find the gap, then it'll slot down. So there we go. I was faffing around with that for about 20 minutes or so, but let's bolt this up and let's continue. Right, I've stole a battery from the Audi for a sec, which was a pain getting in and out, not gonna lie. Let's just let's give it some power. Let's see what happens. Also, just quickly, I've noticed, what is this? Oh, it's the gearbox. I thought it was coming from the exhaust. I was like, there's no way it's got a lambda sensor. So that's in the gearbox. So that must be like a reverse light. So not important right now anyway. Right, let's hook it up and let's see what happens. 14mm. This is a weird battery size. Yeah, that's barely gonna fucking make a connection, that. Absolutely unnecessary. Why has it got such big terminals? Right, I've just put a couple of screws in there just to keep it tight. I can hear things ticking away, but let's just see what happens. Let's get the key. Let's get the keys, and let's just see what happens. Right, let's make sure it's out of bloody gear. Right, windscreen wiper's working slowly. Oh. So the starter's working. I can't hear it's getting fuel though. To be fair, it doesn't work different. It's gonna see. Surely it's gonna just fill the float. Should we just? Right, so it's cranking. So that's good. Okay. Can I smell fuel? It's cranking, so that's good news. I don't know what the foot's clicking. I've got the indicator. Got the hazards on or something. Yeah, there's the hazards on. What's that? Oh. Oh, that was the lights. Oh, to be fair, we had the choke off. Let's pull the choke. Let's pull the choke. Try that. No. I can't smell any fuel. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the fuel line off and just see. Now, although it doesn't work like a conventional fuel, I should be able to see. Oh no, that line is well and truly on there. I think it's not getting fuel. That's what I think. Right, so since I'm not quite sure how I'm going to check for fuel with the way that's set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for spark first of all. So we're going to take the plug out, we're going to put it in the distributor, and then we just need to ground the edge of the spark plug. So put this on something metal, and then you need to rest the spark plug. This might be a bit difficult. So I've got the screwdriver on the block, and then just rest the spark plug on the screwdriver. That's just going to ground it out, and then crank, and you won't be able to see it from here, but it's getting spark. I can see the spark. So it's getting spark. So it's got to be a fuel issue. Has to be. Could use some easy start, just some brake cleaner, and fire it in there and just see if it cranks. And then we know if it's a fuel issue if it tries to start. Let's try that for the end of the video. Now, for some reason, this piston is fully closed. I swear that should move open, right? Because right now it's closed. It's not letting any air in. Is that not meant to move with the throttle? I don't know. Why does this piston stay all the way down? I'm gonna do something dodgy here, and I'm gonna wedge that piston open, and we're gonna crank it. We're gonna blow some brake cleaner through, and just see if it starts trying to fire. And then we know it's either a fuel issue or something to do with that piston. Let's just full send it. So what I've done is I've whacked the idle all the way up so the throttle is open, just so the brake cleaner will actually get in. And then I'm going to wedge open that piston, and then we're going to crank it and just blow some brake cleaner through and see if it tries to fire. Ready? Are we cranking? Oh, she tried to go. It's a fuel issue. It has to be a fuel issue. She's trying to go though. Let's hold the screwdriver. Are you ready? She's trying to. Let's just go wide open throttle. You know, because I can't hold the throttle down while I'm doing this. It's trying to start. I'm holding that piston open and full throttle. Look, it wants to go. Ready? Listen. I don't know what. It's got to be something to do with that piston. Unless it's just run out of fuel. Let's try it again, because that might have just been running off that brake cleaner. Let's try again. Right, you ready? Full throttle. Let's see if it runs. Yeah, now it's run out of fuel. It's fuel. It's 100%. It's fuel. 100%. Has to be. Let's put some more brake cleaner in there. It's not brake cleaner. Has to be. Right, let's try it again. Full throttle. Yeah, it's fuel. Right, let's try that. Right, you ready? It's fuel. Right, let's put it on full throttle. That's near enough full throttle. It wants to go, doesn't it? Fucking contact cleaner, dickhead. It's fuel. Oh my god, it stinks. I feel like I want to just keep it running for a bit, just to literally flush some shit out, because it weren't happy then. It was running, but it weren't fucking happy. Right, so we've got it running on brake cleaner. So I think what I'm going to do is, it's either going to be two things. It's either going to be something wrong inside the carb, or it's going to be it's not getting fuel at all. The guy has said that there's fuel in there. It could literally just be that there isn't any fuel in the car. But I think what we're going to do is I want to rebuild the carb anyway, just to see what it's doing, and then we can have a look at all the fuel flow and everything like that, and make sure all that is working and everything. And to do that, I want to take that line off anyway. So once I've got that, literally once that fuel line off, I'm just going to take the carb off and just make sure everything's working. Just watch a YouTube tutorial and rebuild it. I think that'll be a good video to do. But for now, I love you all. We have technically got it running on brake cleaner, but I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.